the sunshine of a happy youth. Golden days full of innocence and full of truth. In our hearts we remember them all else above. Golden days, days of youth and love. How we laughed with a gaiety that had no sting, looking back through memory's haze. We will know life has nothing sweeter than its springtime. Golden days when we're young. Golden days.
Gracious ones, within the effulgence of divine love, there is divine wisdom, and within the effulgence of divine wisdom, there is a mighty charge of divine love. This day I am come to you in order to instruct and to bring to your attention some of the mighty scientific facts that are little known to those who do not perceive the spiritual values behind the outer manifestation of nature. Now, light itself is a mighty subject. Light seems to be simple and pure as water or as earth. But light has many manifestations, and these comprise a variety of manifestations. Many individuals are unaware that light itself is a river of light, and that light as a river is a carrier of spiritual values into the world of form. Those spiritual values are the commerce of divine ideas flowing from the heart of God as creator into the world of form, and producing in the world of form that variety of manifestation to which I alluded. Let men understand that light in reality is that manifestation of the Divine One, which conveys the essence behind light, which is the mighty odic force by which God perceives life and sustains life, preserves life and creates life, and produces mutations in life. In reality, light is the fingers of God manifesting in the world of form. Those who consider that God is a spirit will understand that a spirit has need of the power to contact the periphery of that form expression in all of its varied avenues. For that form expression which manifests to your senses is only a very small part of manifestation. And material science today, gazing upon matter and substance, even through the use of powerful microscopes and even electronic microscopes, are unable to recognize or to cognize the power of the Spirit to inject, as it were, blessed ones, into light many qualities of manifestation which are not known or recognized by science today, but are recognized and used today by those who have little knowledge of material science, but do have and hold a great knowledge insofar as spiritual science is concerned, the science of the Spirit. Now in reality, blessed ones, the science of the Spirit is a far more complex and vast subject than the science which you call material or outer science. Outer science, blessed ones, is only able to penetrate a very small portion of the spectrum of reality. And they say we have all of it. And they have but a little. And that little knowledge is a dangerous thing unto them, for it has not produced in the social world the well-being of planetary man. For man today is in the dregs of his consciousness, insofar as his relationship with his fellow man goes. He has drained the cup of life of its virtue and filled it with the slime of human values, which is not wedded to the golden rule. Neither does it understand how the law of the circle returns to each man that which he sends out. And men feel disconnected from one another, and they feel disconnected from God. Let me point out then that an understanding of the power of light and the facts of life pertaining to this one subject, light, will enable mankind to appreciate and to understand just how little they know in reality of divine truth. For there is a complete spectrum, not a mere shade of spectrum which they currently see. Blessed ones, how unfortunate it is that mankind's vision is so limited and yet seems so complex because of the complexities in the small segments which they have realized. Yet the unlocking of these secrets has changed the civilization of the world from the kerosene lamp and the horse-drawn carriage to an entire era of human progress. But spiritual progress today is lagging even back behind the dark ages in the main, and only the few of the planet are the illumined ones who perceive the power of God in its variegated manifestation. Now then, I would like to illustrate for you that the time was when men drew the copper wires out across the planet and sent one telephone conversation over a pair of wires. Today, thousands of conversations simultaneously are carried on over a pair of wires. Men have learned how to adjust frequency and how to attune and how to separate and make use of the powers of expansion so that a small thing can be used in a large way. Well, blessed ones, this is only the beginning. And when the secrets of universal life become more widely known to the scientific community, there will come to pass a greater interest in the spiritual manifestation of God in the social world between man and man. Today, they seek to heal the body and to preserve its longevity. They seek to penetrate the secrets of the mind, but they know so little about the power of the soul. They know so little about the power of reality and the power that transcends both time and space and reaches out to the great source from whence it came in the eternal cup of God's overflowing grace. Let me then say unto you today that the power of the ascended masters is very great. Let me say unto you today that the present human form which men occupy is very crude in comparison to the mighty manifestation of a Son of God. I tell you, blessed ones, that a Son of God can stand in an auditorium filled with people, and not one of them will know that he is there. Yet the blazing light of his substance and his intelligence, of his comprehension and his dimension, is beyond people to realize in their present state. people somehow become, unfortunately, blasphemed by their own self-concepts. They become blasphemed because, rather than raise themselves to the state of a divine being, they reduce themselves to the human rubble pile, where mankind feel somewhat cast off and as the offscouring of all things. Individuals sometimes feel that they are but a lump of clay which God discarded. In reality, the lump of clay has discarded the spirit that inhabits it, and has failed to adore its precepts and understand its mission. Let men then return to the old sources and the old landmarks. Let them build up within their consciousness the justice of faith in the universal realm, of which human life is but a fraction. Let them understand that the fragment vouchsafed unto them is great in itself, fearfully and wonderfully made, and yet it is but a fraction, a fragment of that which is. We know, for we have penetrated into the realm of the absolute, and we have perceived the meaning of life in its grand and noble aspects. Individuals come and go. They are but a spark, a flash in the pan. Their life is, as it were, but for a moment. And eternal values, the values of the Infinite One, is a never-ending cycle of the law, manifesting by love's power again and again. This is wisdom. Let he who hath an ear hear what the Spirit saith unto man. For the Spirit speaketh not of man as though he were a coat of skins, but as though he were a mighty spiritual tower, a fortress, and his many embodiments are but as fandangles about his wrist. They are hung, as it were, like charms upon a charm bracelet, and some of them are not so charming, for their manifestations have been filled with pain, with hate, with viciousness, with deceit, and with the cloud of unknowing. Let men understand then that this must be replaced by the power of the Spirit, but men must aspire to it and understand that it exists. They must aspire to the ascended body state. They must aspire to the Christ consciousness. Today, in the shop windows of the world, the little children and their parents stand, and their eyes are big, as you say it, almost as big as saucers, as they gaze upon the trinkets of life, the baubles of life, the treasures of life, that which men esteem to be great. The diamonds and rubies and even the imitations allure individuals, and little trivia becomes so important to mankind. I say then, before they acquire these things, in the main they first gaze upon them, and the desire arises within themselves to possess them. Learn then to gaze into the showcases of Almighty God. Learn to gaze upon the great spiritual treasures and the realities of universal law and universal love. Learn to gaze upon the ascended Master's victories, their power to transcend mortality, their power to span the years and dwell either in or out of the body, their power to manifest in form or manifest without form, their power to heal, to illumine, to cast out or fling out the worlds in space. For this too is the power of some of the great cosmic beings. God has not reserved unto himself alone the power of creativity, but he has given it to all, and some create a cage in which they dwell as animals. Others create a limitless expanse of consciousness that gives to them the opportunity and hope that when they gaze into the showcases of divine grace, they may select those specifics which they desire to manifest, and as those desires form within themselves, you will perceive that desire itself, which has been a power to enslave mankind, is not wrong, but is in reality the power which is keynoted within the word desire. Sire meaning to bring forth, and D of that power of the deity. You must understand then that desire is only wrong when it holds the vision of wrong things, when those things possess men rather than men possess the things. This then is the important understanding which you must obtain this day, that desire should be harnessed for spiritual things, and men should desire those things in the showcases of grace and hold those focuses in their thoughts and consciousness until they do manifest, until they manifest in their world. And then they should again gaze into the showcases of life and find another divine quality of grace that they desire to manifest, and bring that into manifestation by the power of desire, which is the power to bring forth as the Father brought forth. The creative essence lies within you. It is conveyed by the power of the cosmic light, of the cosmic Christ into your world. And it is not wrong when it is tethered to noble ideas. Human things are also required and needed by mankind, and they will manifest when the law is fulfilled. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. I call to your attention the manifestation of a jackass, of a meek and lowly jackass, which was required by the Lord Jesus at a specific time in his life, and he knew where to find him. And he sent the man into a certain street and told him to say, the Lord hath need of him. And it was so, and the provisio was made, and the manifestation was achieved. There is no quality or thing on earth that is needed or required by you that cannot be manifested by you, if you will understand the need to seek the kingdom of God first. For all things should be orientated around that kingdom and central to it, not subservient to it. Today, millions of people orientate themselves, blessed ones, in such a manner that all things are orientated around themselves. They are the son of their own system of worlds, but not as God intended. Men must understand that they must submit to the great cosmic law, and the God that is within them must be central to them. God is not concerned with living your lives, precious ones. He has already lived in countless lives the manifestation of himself, and perceive victory in life waves coming from all sides of the universe. You are referencing here one who is older than the Ancient of Days. And when I say to you that God does not desire to take from you or to usurp the authority over your own life, you must understand that he desires to convey to you the complete power to govern your life when you are able to do so. It is because individuals are not able to govern their life that they are asked to consult the deity, that they are asked to consult the ascended masters, that they are asked to consult their presence. This is because the individual monad is required by cosmic law in its lesser manifestation to seek the greater light, that it may become the greater light. When it has become the greater light, the Father will say to the little birds in the nest, fly forth to the ends of the universe. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. The Father desires and intends that ye shall also be ruler over many things, when ye have demonstrated that ye are able to be faithful in a few things. Thus the power of light is a conveyance, a transfer into the identity of the Son of God of divine qualities. And those qualities can include and do include the power to look in upon the outer world from which you have retired in the ritual of the ascension. But how long do you suppose that the ascended masters desire to stand in their blazing light bodies into a room full of people whose thoughts are infested with vermin, and gaze upon these people and be exposed to the putrid odors which emanate from their being as a result of the discord and inharmony manifesting therein? You know chemical composition, blessed ones. You know the decaying substance and its values. You know that decaying substance does emanate a frightful odor, And you know that this odor of decay is the breaking down of the chemicals so that it will return to its primal source. You must understand then that this is a very uncomfortable thing for an ascended being to be exposed to. And therefore, when individuals will align themselves with God and bring the sweetness of the odor of the spiritual rose into their world, so that their very pores are permeated by spirituality, they are inviting communion with the angelic hosts and communion with the ascended masters. You must understand that precise and intricate law governs every manifestation in the universe. And when that law is violated, it brings about a manifestation of justice. And men must then bow to the justice of life and submit to that which life shall direct. There is always a purpose behind all things, blessed ones. And when you comprehend it and understand it scientifically, you will perceive that the spiritual laws of life and the scientific laws of life are harmonious in the whole gamut of that activity. There is no need then for men to fear, but only a need to love. And when that love expands and expands and expands outward into space, it is the expansion of a soul, even as a rose expands into space from the unfolding bud. Let all understand and know then that fear ought to be dissipated and cast from their world. For fear is a tormenting force. There is no need to fear, for the power of love is ever near. There is no need to fear, for the power of wisdom is here. There is no need to fear, for I am here. And God, your own I am presence, is the solution to all things. He is one. He is one essence. He is one body. He is one light. He was broken for all. He was divided. He is subdivided into manifestation and form at fantastic levels of construction. But men must recognize that the way for them to appreciate the universe is to dwell in it. In the present state of men's consciousness, they dwell in an anthill, and they know little of the world outside their own orbits, of human selfishness and human concern. Now then, let us take the lid off of mankind's mortal, confining, cramping, limiting concepts, and let us cause mankind to be inspired to pursue true wisdom. They will find many scientific mysteries revealed to them, but they will find that within themselves, even in their present state, there is a vast uncovered world that needs to be understood and comprehended. Ladies and gentlemen, the goddess Meru sends her love and her greetings to you. And I say the flame that pulses here in our retreat in South America is flowing forth unto the world, and is a signifying activity that speaks to men and saith unto them, come, hear our words, and know our law. For this law of the one is the law of the all. I thank you. dry ground, parched and hungry for rain, so is the earth hungry to receive the gentle rain of peace upon that dried ground, waiting the manifestation of divine perfectionment, waiting the manifestation of the joining of hands and hearts in a joyous expression of cooperation, when the children of the earth respond to the great heartbeat of divine love from on high and are mellowed by divine grace, ready to receive understanding and wisdom and to spread abroad throughout the planet the implements of peace and goodwill. Yet mankind have been troubled, and their hearts have been afraid, and they have sought refuge beneath outer security and outer means of living, without understanding that there is a power within themselves of infinite love and compassion that will reach out to their neighbor and salute their neighbor with the flame of love that beats their own heart, that will sustain all that is by divine grace within them, and will help them to sustain that which is presently so fragile upon the planet, namely that which I shall now declare unto you is the bonds of peace. I am the Elohim of peace, and I have come this day to charge my radiance into the atmosphere of the planet and to blend the flame of my heart with the flame of this pilgrim for peace who walks among mankind today in order to establish grace upon the planet and to fulfill in the hearts of all mankind the realization that the power of love can and is of infinite measure. The power of love can be of infinite measure when an individual will offer themselves unto God for any specific purpose. And I call to your attention the significant manifestation of your own beloved Saint Germain and how he has externalized the quality of divine freedom, bringing to the earth the glorious feeling and buoyancy, the great release of the flood tides of cosmic freedom. Understand then that the qualities of God are many, and that among them the quality of peace to the generations of this earth is very great, for the history of the world is surfeited in a bath of the loss of men's lives and the destruction of their physical bodies and the creation of a frightful karma which has brought about the residual substance of karma to mankind and a recurrence of hate and hate creations upon the planet. Yet, as the waters of the Pacific, in their relative calm, do present to mankind a vision of waters upon which the glorious rays of the sun do shine, so do the hungry souls of men reach out and desire with a great desireness to have the quality of infinite peace in manifestation. I tell you, precious ones, even those individuals today who are engaged in the business of making war and creating inharmonies by deliberation, there is a longing deep within themselves to put an end to the very silly business of creating inharmony. For nothing is accomplished by the power of inharmony, and all things are accomplished by the power of tranquility, even that quality which I shall call evenness of purpose. Evenness of purpose, which smooths off the roughened edges from mankind's aspirations, which are often not tied to and united with any great definitive idea, but stem merely from their yearnings without the qualification of true understanding, which comes about as the power of God infuses the mind and heart with a mighty power that shall sweep the world as the great tides of divine love and peace rise higher and higher into the atmosphere to bring about an end to the contamination of discord and despair, to bring about the renewal of hope in hearts that have no hope, to bring about understanding wherever there are ears to hear and hearts to embrace. I say to you today then, let then there be accomplished a fiat from on high. Let my word go forth, and let it be done. Let a flame, a mighty flame, be kindled in the heart of this pilgrim, that shall give to her, when she shall call upon my name, even in secret, the greatest power that has ever manifested in any individual for the quality of peace in this age. Let her have the power and hold it as a treasure from on high, within the focus of her heart, to know that I am the Elohim of peace, and that I will answer when she calls upon me with faith, and will radiate through her form my feeling of divine peace to the world, to make her a messenger of peace even as she is a messenger of peace, to give her greater power than she has manifested before, and to attract to mankind greater understanding of the magnetism of peace as the possibility of bringing in the golden age of fruitfulness and enlightenment to all mankind. In the name of Almighty God, I say then, let it be written and let it be done. I say, let it be sealed and let it be won. Let it be understood that peace, even as it is envisioned by the late President Kennedy, peace as envisioned in the Peace Corps, is an essential ingredient in the waging of peace for and on behalf of the hierarchy of light, and for the freedom of men from the shackles of war, that they may fall from them, and that there may be a replacement of that activity by a replacement of light and its infinite capacity to uphold the law of God that long ago was uttered from Horeb's height. Thou shalt not kill. Therefore the power of God and the power of the commandments thereof shall increase by the grace of the Lord Christ, and the hierarchy shall release a mighty tide of peace this day to this planet, in the very hour when the warlords of China are conspiring together as to how they may bring about the end of Western civilization. I say then, let no man feel that this is not his responsibility, for all men upon this planet, they of every tongue, they of every clime, have a responsibility to maintain peace themselves, and it is not vested in one individual alone, but in all who will respond to the echoes of the call that goeth forth from the hosts of heaven, and in the name of Almighty God, who long ago has said through the great Lord Christ, love one another, and so fulfill the law. In the name of the Prince of Peace, I, the Elohim of peace, salute you, and I thank you. Peace from your presence flow through days of service and nights of rest. May the peace from your presence keep you blessed. The sign of the heart and the head and the hand to you. May Gautama's cosmic cross of white fire watch between thee and me while we are absent the one from the other and present with the Lord. So be it. We will retire to the family room where Peace Pilgrim will speak to us for the length of time that she wishes to allot to us. screen of the mind charged with the radiance of the unfailing light of God. Behold, the Lord thy God liveth, is the healing fiat which men ought to understand. For life and the secret of life is within the domain of the infinite and most high God. In this age of reason, when the minds of men are surfeited by a torrent of words, there is a great need crying out within the souls of men for understanding, created by cosmic mesh, the mesh of infinite law, which by the sweet cadences of that law subdivides and divides the manifestations of law until understanding is seen as gleaming rows of beautiful precepts issuing forth from the Eternal One. As I come to you this morning, it is with a sense of infinite compassion for the ills of the world and for the ills of mankind, and for all that has brought forth discomfort to any part of life. As I come to you this morning, I am well aware of the fact that a cosmic psychiatry would reveal to mankind the inner world of thought and feeling, which is like unto the cosmos in its physical aspects, possessing its seeming darkened areas and other areas of whirling nebulae, spirals of thought and ideas. The mind and the feeling world of mankind surges within and contains within the germinal seeds of both beauty and that which men call ugly. Let it then be made clear that the fiat which men have accepted because it is cosmic law, which clearly declares and defines, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, ought to be heeded more as men either pass through the process of accepting the thoughts of others that come willy-nilly through the atmosphere, or that are germinal within their own consciousness, stemming from subconscious reactions to situations and ideas of human dominance. Individuals do not enjoy the concept of themselves, for example, as a weak, spineless individual, and they often generate within themselves what amounts to almost a torrent or a fury of feeling, which states that no man dares to defy me, for I am right. Blessed ones, legions of light, unascended. Truth is right, and it needs not to be asserted by mankind, for it stands in the atmosphere of the planet as it does in the cosmos itself, and it is its own best support. There is no requirement to shore up the mighty power and presence of truth. It is reality, it is life, it is God essence. Therefore, be not caught or trapped or snared unawares concerning the precepts of individuals which are not rooted in truth. That which is truth will stand the acid test of time and eternity, and there is no power that can dethrone or degrade your blessed selves if you will only understand that the bulwarks of your life are divine and stem from your divine source as a fount of flame. They come upward within your soul. Well springs from on high they are called, and their power and presence is to give you your victory that will shatter all crystallization of mortal concepts. But if you resurrect mortal concepts from the grave in which they lie, if you raise up the ghosts, the phantoms, the image orgies of past errors in your world, you will find that by this deed, discomfort and misery, confusion and in harmony will manifest, where God and his peace and the peace of his truth ought to be proof against all things human. You need not fight the battle of Armageddon, blessed ones, by a mortal struggle or the sense thereof, for God is your victory that cannot be denied. And if God is upon your side, he is also upon the side of everyone who serves him. And there is no need for a dichotomy or division between individuals whose associations stem from the sweetness of the immortal drawing of the upraised Christ image, the image of God, the power to heal all schism and breaches and manifest the purity of the pristine radiance of God from out the great central sun. The central sun magnet is drawing mankind to the healing of all mortal density. Mortal density must be diluted by light, and light comes from the domain of God victory. And God victory is he who loveth so much that he has given of himself the radiance of his own Son self. The Son self of God is the Son self of every man. It is Christos, regenerate. It is the power by which men triumph. For in this age of iron and steel and human hauteur, when the world stands on the brink of awful rebellion, that great stabilizing power of God and the Christ image remains the bulwark of the age. And let men today deny it if they will. They can never deny it and affect it. They can only affect it within themselves and those who spuriously and foolishly listen to them in their mutterings against God and their incantations on behalf of the hordes of evil. You must understand and comprehend that in the battle of Armageddon there will naturally be some struggle. But as St. Germain has pointed out, there need be no sense of struggle retained within your consciousness. In the name of heaven, when light contacts darkness, it is not contacting that which has reality, but that which has none. That there is then a struggle is because God has planted his light and mercy within the domain of humanity and permits life to continue and go on, so that men say, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the first. And individuals are enamored with the idea that because there is no punishment of evil seeming to spume forth on the instant, that the individual has escaped the judgment of Almighty God. Let it be clear that in this generation men are reaping the karma of 1,000,000 years now past. Do the mills of the gods then grind slowly? I think that they do. But let it be understood also that there is no purposeful thrust on the part of Almighty God to bring about karmic retribution to mankind. But the law must exact its last farthing, in order that the law will justify the tilt which men have introduced into the balance wheels of life. It is not a case of the powers and energies of Almighty God taking their toll even upon the Son whom he loveth, but it is a fulfillment of law, and law is fulfilled so that men may learn through the violations thereof to do well. And thus there is both the thrust forward and there is the repulsive thrust. Men must understand that even the repulsive thrust, which directs them away from the central point, goal of their life and existence, is in its activity a drawing power, which when rightly understood will draw them back to that great God source with a magnetism of the Spirit which is greater because it has been thrust away by its own discordant manifestations and concepts. When men are excluded from the fountainhead of heaven and the spearhead of its love, they recognize that in the course of time which they have lost, and when they have once again retained their balance and found their way back to the center point of God's divine will, there is rejoicing in their souls and a new determination which mounts up as on eagle wing to assert itself in their future doings and see that they do not once again enter into the self-same mistakes of the past ages. Thus, the cause of God is served by propulsion and repulsion. But men must understand that they need not become victims of karmic law when they understand that law, but can cast themselves upon the mercy seat of God. There is an image which I would evoke within you all, and it is the image of the broken identity cast upon the altar of God until its pieces are manifold, and it would seem as though it can never again reassemble that which lies broken and waiting upon the great threshing floor of God's altar. But there is a whitening of the substance there, and there is the great summoning of the spiritual law and the power of an outpoured mercy from the heart of God, which says unto the various component parts thereof, Come thou together in wholeness. But it is a holiness. It is a wholeness. It is a manifestation of substance regenerated by the Christ image. And the broken image is the mortal one without perfection. And the new reformed image is the Christ image standing before the altar throne, where God's love makes known these ringing words, Thou art my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Thus does God restore the rightful place to his errant sons, and thus do they come to bypass the karmic law and throw themselves upon the altar and ask for regeneration and power to be given to them in renewed dispensation. There is no acid law in the universe that is desiring to etch in the soul of man some concept of retribution on the part of the Godhead, but there is a great quality of outpoured mercy which ought to be loved and loved and loved and loved, for it is the law of health and freedom from the divine level. It is the law of restoration, whereby the divine energies are replenished within the soul of the individual, and he is lifted up and restored to his rightful place, and joy sounds throughout the universe as the power of the prodigal son is made known, as the command of God's divine love, which restores to all errant sons the right way, the way of regeneration, the way of restoration, the power of infinite love, which cannot be swayed by mortal failures. When the Christ spake and said, That which is lame and halt and blind and out of the way must be restored, and the old boundaries must be reestablished, it was an act of cosmic mercy, and it is then the internal patterns within the soul of men which create diseases in the flesh form. And it is these internal patterns within men which must be corrected. And if they are not corrected, the old matrices will continue to outpush and thrust through the substance of God life, and man life will manifest it as imperfect forms, imperfect concepts, in harmony and distress. But when the internal patterns are purified and there is a manifestation of God's law, then the Christ has indeed sat upon the great white throne in judgment for the sake of purity. And this is the meaning of white. White references purity. And the white throne is the pure throne of God, and it is akin to light. For as you have had it said to you before, the word pure involves the power of God in the P. And the words, you are as light, the great sound of God's judgment, the power by which the worlds were framed, the great the city of light, out of which Abraham came, a city below formed in the image of that which is above, but which, as in other past cases, failed to manifest all that the Divine One intended. For the city of God, envisioned by Augustine of old, and yet not so old, is also the city which all great patriarchs and prophets have envisioned and sought to manifest, falling a little short because of human frailties, the temporal form consciousness of mankind has not brought into manifestation the beauty of the inner spheres of light. But men can, and men do, and those who can and those who do escape from the round, and they are the few who have heard the sound of the voice of the law which they have held in awe, and loved and purified their soul, and known the way to become whole. Now then, gracious ones, when I speak to you of the healing arts, it is the restoration of a spirit of noble integrity within the soul of men, which will declare unto the world, as I spake on Mars Hill, as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I saw an altar with this inscription written thereupon, to the unknown God, whom ye therefore ignorantly worship, him declare I unto you, God that has made the earth and all that is therein dwelleth not in temples made with hands. And ye are his offspring, as some of your own poets have said. Ye are the offspring of God, who have not known your birthright. And healing lies in this statement with which I came. God is the God of the whole earth and of all substance. He is the God of very gods, and there is none like him. Hear ye him who speaketh within your souls. Hear ye him who projected forth the Christ, by whom he made all things. Hear ye him and live. Summum bonum. All good has come forth from God, and all good shall return unto God. The feather shall fly in the atmosphere, and the stone shall fall upon the earth. I thank you in the name of him whose grace abideth forever in the world, in form, and in men who care. Peace be upon you. God's almighty name. Amen.
From distress.
gracious ones, like a beautiful ray of infinite purple falling through the air, so is the ray and shaft of cosmic mercy. Now then, the mystery of penetration, whereby space is penetrated by the radiance of the Divine One, is scarcely understood by mankind, although all are beneficiaries thereof. You must comprehend, gracious ones, the meaning of the quality of mercy. For mercy does indeed penetrate space and manifests everywhere, even in areas where it would appear to the consciousness of mankind, with its darkening concepts, that there is no mercy, because individuals among mankind do exert such awful pressure upon mankind through the outpicturing of the horrors of war and the densities of oppression and cruelty practiced against many parts of life. It does not comfort individuals who are in pain to know that those who are their oppressors do so in ignorance. They are the recipients of a hard line and a manifestation of terror and fear. To them, it seems as though the world is a place from which to retreat, and life itself seems not at all to be sweet. You must understand then that in spite of all the terrors that descend into man's consciousness and world, when the pressure is removed, individuals are gracious indeed and seem to feel that it is as though it had never been. And thus, people quickly forget, for mercy acts to blot out the memory of mortal fears and mortal terrors. You must understand, gracious ones, how comforting it is for us of the ascended realm to contemplate the day when we can come into the atmosphere of the planet unaffected by any device of human thought and feeling which causes us to be somewhat uncomfortable in the presence of individuals in whom there is so much untransmuted substance remaining, simply because in areas of time now long past for us, we ourselves did manifest human and mortal imperfection, does not comfort us, although we are aware of it, and cause it to be any less uncomfortable for us when individuals will spew out the shadowed concepts which mankind presently manifest in the world of form. Human density, human thought and feeling, human ideas, ignorance-based, do not provide any degree of comfort for us. And when we come into the lower octaves of the atmosphere of this planet, it is not to receive, but to give. We come to give and we come to relieve the terrible tensions of this age, wherever the law, in its great quality of mercy, will permit it to manifest. Mercy, precious ones, does not have the full power in this present age to sweep aside all the cobwebs of human thought and feeling. Mercy only acts, gracious ones, number one, where it is welcomed and invoked, and number two, where the karmic board can find some cosmic law which will permit the intrusion into the world of man from our level of an activity of mercy. You must understand that mercy is governed by cosmic law, and that simply because my heart is bursting with a desire to alleviate a situation of great tension does not mean that I can always do so. Nor those who serve with me, the angels of mercy, can they intrude in a place where mankind do not bid them welcome. Fortunately, the child heart and the child mind is invocative of the quality of mercy, and the very innocence of children brings into manifestation the proper attitude of thought and feeling, which does and can receive assistance from our level without a more formalized invitation. However, mankind, as there is a ripening and maturing of the faculties of their being, often become most recalcitrant. And because of this mortal recalcitrance, which is like the dust of rocks to the atmosphere, it comes to pass that there is a choking off of the manifestation of mercy in the world of mankind. And we are repelled by the dust of mortal error and their feelings that they know all the answers to the mysteries of life, and that the science to which they pledge allegiance does supply them with every answer. Poor moths they are, flitting about the flame of mortal knowledge. They know only the beginning of the mysteries of temporal life, and so little about the mysteries of spiritual life. There are lying in wait for the earnest investigator any number of imprudent individuals who, in the darkness and dampness of muddied human emotion, human greed and ignorance, desire to part the veil for others when the veil remains unparted for themselves. Grace and mercy be multiplied to those earnest and sincere ones who offer themselves in the service of the light, that they may illumine mankind by the power of holy truth. But let it come to pass by divine decree that those who are false and children of the dark shall expose themselves to mankind, telling that which they temporarily are, and revealing themselves to be workers of darkness and human shadow. Now, in the name of mercy, this present hour I come, and I come to tell you that the karmic board is pondering many of mankind's present problems and seeking a way for mankind to escape from the self-imposed bondage and slavery which they have put upon themselves, in many cases in ignorance, and in other cases in unbelief. Unbelief and ignorance are the two blights to the world of the seeker. For when the seeker is ignorant of the whole law and knowledgeable only in part, he is often prone to accept the part as the whole, and therefore cannot discern the Lord's body or understand the mysteries of the Spirit as they should be revealed to his consciousness. When the individual remains in a state of unbelief, he is not able to clearly perceive what is truth and what is error. For the powers of perception of that which is error are rooted in belief. Faith begets courage, and courage and faith in union beget wisdom, which discerns spiritual law. When spiritual law is made clear to the questing mind and heart, it is like a signpost or a beacon to a traveler upon the road. Some have asked as to why heaven is affected by that which earth shall do. In the statement made long ago that man descended trailing clouds of glory from heaven, which was his home, there is to be found, dear ones, a realization of the fact that you all are a part of heaven and not in reality earthy at all. Heaven seeks then to part the veil into your consciousness, quite naturally, to restore the old boundaries of cosmic affection in your world, to alleviate the strain and stress occasioned by the ego as it seeks to manifest its own good without realizing that the source of all good is God. Therefore, your life is more without yourself and without your frame than it is within. And yet mankind have often said, even in religious, theological, and spiritual speculation, that man's life was within. They do not understand fully how the tie is made and then broken. When individuals have a communion with heaven and then break that contact, that which is within, the light that is within them, becomes darkness, for there is no feeding of that inner man made in the divine image. You must comprehend then the statement of the Master Jesus to Peter, saying, "Feed my sheep." You must understand the needs of the inner man as you do the needs of the outer man. You must comprehend how that the broadening cables connecting your being with the immortal realms and with your own divine presence must be enlarged upon. You must perceive the power of truth as an act of mercy, and every quality in man that generates contact with his great divine self is a power which will raise him out of mortal density and feed that inward man. But if the cable be broken, if it be not maintained, if the currents do not flow over that cable of contact, then that which is within is a waning light, and even mercy cannot be perceived as mercy, but is often seen in the light of man's dullness of perception. Who can understand the law of karma? Among mankind today, that which you call karma, that which mankind call the law of cause and effect, all must be understood. But many today are affrighted of the karmic law, and some who are not affrighted by it are angered by it, and they feel that God is unjust in the manifestation of administration of his laws. Therefore, that which happens in the world of form is seen by them as an activity of God frowning upon mankind, and the qualities of divine mercy are not perceived at all. Man lacks balance in such perceptions, and they are not true perceptions at all, but are the banal acceptance of the fog surrounding the mystery of life. We would banish it all and dispel it with one breath, if we may. Yet so much remains for you to do and for you to accept of life. And herein I reference not the life that appears for a moment as a breath upon the glass and then vanisheth away, but I reference the internal life, neglected, neglected, neglected. The cables down, the wires crossed, the perpetuation of the limited sphere of individualized perception is like a cave of darkness, illumined by a candle whose tallow is almost consumed. And man, in a fearful and uncertain state of being, lacks the great broadened concept of the Spirit that reaches out to penetrate the cave and the space without, and to see the universe is a universe of light, where many lights do illumine the darkness. And these lights must be adhered to, and men must not lament the darkness in themselves or in others, for the light is, and that which is reality. That reality must be enhanced in perception, by correct understanding. And this is the balm of Gilead to the soul. For when the light as illumination extends the borders of the mind and soul of man, man becomes more than man, and mercy has completed a portion of her perfect work in the realm of the individual. For when the law is made clear and life is understood, fear must be removed. For perfect love casteth out fear, for fear hath torment, and mercy, as an aspect of God, is but an unguent, a balm of restoration. And so as I come today, it is to restore in mankind the sense of the old boundaries, that he may realize that the boundary of the infinite, which was extended and established by the hands of God of old, has been ever traveling outward into space to mold and frame an infinite universe of light, where God can illumine mankind through the night by light. Understand this, and thy understanding will leap as a hart, and thy heart will be glad, and the world will seem not so bad, but newness of perception will enhance the oldness of rejection, and that which is rejected in life will be perfected, not through senseless mortal strife, but through the consecration of divine energy perfected. I thank you. gracious ones, the magnificent outpourings of human gratitude and praise. Kyrie eleison, Christi eleison, extended from grateful hearts in the temples of the world, is acceptable unto God, as are all prayers of all peoples everywhere. But reflected in the human monad, in the individual manifestation, are the doubts of dogma and doctrine, which remove from the beauty of spiritual experience the cosmic luster of life. For whereas men may seek to glorify God according to their own comprehension and understanding, even as there is a way that seemeth right unto a man, the end thereof being death, so there is one right way of magnifying God, and that is the drawing in of God's own radiance into the force field of identity, into the heart temple, into the individual mind, lifting up that mind as the Christ mind unto God, there flashing as aurora borealis across the sky. There are the great dreams of Almighty God and the penetration of his thought and his ideas into the realm of human affairs. Consciousness must be lifted up. Adoration and praise hold their part with divine worship and are a very real part of identification with God, a means whereby men can identify with the Eternal One, who shall break forth in praise and singing, saying, I am God, without understanding that it is the mighty I am presence of life within themselves which beats their heart. Who is God? It is not the puny, paltry, man temporal who is the manifestation of God. It is the great divine image, eternal, who is the manifestation of God. In this day, when darkness covers the earth as a shroud, bear well in mind that the magnificent light of the eternal presence is continually reflected in the domain of the individual, who will perceive that it is God which moves and impels the limbs of man into action. Yet, by cosmic Christ's direction, those self-same limbs are limbs of the presence immortal, carrying out the dictates of heaven and bringing beneficence to all the earth beneath. As in the beautiful saying concerning mercy, it droppeth upon the earth as gentle rain, blessing the earth beneath and the one who sendeth it out. So it is with divine action, which is never in any way, blessed ones, a part of human reaction. For mankind are prone, and I say the word twice, prone, in their consciousness, lying upon the earth, tangled midst the density of the briars they have created, to consider themselves to be reactors to that which others shall do. And thus individuals, as puppets upon their own string, are pulled up and down in the terror of the mortal ratchet, as that ratchet is activated by reactive forces pouring into their world from another's activity. You must become free from all that mankind has created, and be unmoved by that which men shall do, but impelled by that which God has done, and which is an eternal action of the cosmic fire, the regeneration of immortal life activated all around thee. This is the cosmic command, the commanding presence of life that speaks unto you individually and to all men, saying, come into your freedom and be as I am. This is the power that enabled the Hebrew children in the fiery furnace to be escaped into life in the midst of apparent destruction, so that the smoke did not even smell upon their garments, but they came forth walking into life, for the presence of the Son of God was manifest amongst them, as they perceived the radiance of reality and were not affrighted by the temporary appearance of all mankind's human viciousness. You must learn, blessed ones, how to summon your great God presence and take command over human density. There is no excuse for those who have the knowledge of the law for a continual reaction to that which men shall do. In the name of heaven, blessed ones, would you have yourselves become reactors to 3.5 billion life streams, so that if it were not one, it would be another who would disturb your world and keep you in a constant state of unrest and turmoil? I tell you, if you will recognize it, your presence is the doorway to life. And when you are solely motivated by the action of your cosmic presence, there is never any room in your world for cosmic distress. Nor will there be any room in your world for mortal criticism, condemnation, or judgment, which will ultimately react upon yourself. There will be a passport in your hands, and that passport is the way to your immortal freedom. Is this too much to pay? Is the price too great to maintain balance in your world and to determine that your divine presence shall be the unction of your soul? Or would you have other men dictate your own course and pathway? Gracious ones, inscribe this law upon your being, and you will know the meaning of true peace. Think you that the beloved Master Jesus, in his great travail and service to life, in his Galilean embodiment, was motivated by any force or power save the eternal Father? There was within the dimension of his world only room for the immortal presence to act. And when he spake these words, there is no power but God that can act. It was the fullness of life, which, because it always acted in his world at the moment of the great cosmic test, upon Golgotha, he did cry out, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. You will understand that is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? For the eternal presence was his life, and to dwell in a state of consciousness bereft of that presence was to him as though he did not live. And in the state of forsakenness from the Eternal One came the greatest measure of pain, but also the greatest measure of blessing, for he saw and perceived clearly that within his own soul there was a kindled action which was affinitized with God, and therefore the reflection of all that God had meant unto him over the years within himself sustained him during those moments when he otherwise would have been utterly forsaken. So build ye garments of light, so build ye garments of magnificence. Let your weaving be a consummate skill of your cosmic identity, and let no mortal thing come nigh unto thee, even the mortality of thyself. For thus shall men arise in newness of life to build a world that shall be readied for the skies and the fresh approach to life, which is the cosmic being of God, as ever new vistas of identity are revealed, and as reality is seen as the eternal being of God without beginning and without ending. Cosmic magnificence is cosmic omnipresence, omniscience, and omnipotence. The omnipotent is within thee. I am called the great divine director, and as one who upholds the banner of freedom for the earth, together with your beloved Saint Germain and Jesus, together with all the ascended masters, I say unto you, let not your hearts be troubled this day, nor let them be afraid. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. For in me also there is acting the self-same law of cosmic omnipresence, which identifies with the Christ consciousness of every ascended being and with every unascended being who will submit to the law of God as the rule of his own world. Hear ye then the great dictation of freedom. This day we would see the mortals of this earth free, and in our great desire to amplify the power of freedom round the world, we say, man, behold thy state of bondage. See how dogma has created a frozen state in men's world, where there is no fluidity of experience, no magnificent concept of the ever-receding vision, not, blessed ones, a mirage upon the deserts of life, but an eternal, beautiful promise that is fulfilled from time to time and then is only a clause promise of a great blessing to come. Do you understand that of which I speak? I speak of the ever-receding beauty of God, because God is transcendent, and in the transcendence of himself he giveth unto all his own transcendence, whereby they, parting veil after veil of their own God-being, are able to see the reality that blazes forth as life within them and dwells in the great Shekinah glory between the covering cherubims in the ark of being. Their heart then becomes a threshing floor, where the great conscience of God stimulative within them bringeth unto their mind that which they ought to do and have not done, and produces in their consciousness a clear-cut pathway through the air, cleaving asunder mortal shards of human decay, and showing them the way where God dwells in temples not made with hands, but in the magnificent cathedral dome of spirit which covers life and is the covering grace of universal munificence. The gratitude of the Eternal One given to mankind is reflected in their own gratitude as they pour forth thanks unto the eternal citadels of light for all that light has meant to earth and all that earth ought to mean to light. If you were light, and you shone into darkness, and the darkness knew you not, would you not rejoice when the darkness became light, and knew you, and sent forth paeans of gratitude into your realm? Would you not rejoice, knowing then that the hope that begets hope was also dwelling below as above? For that which is below is intended to rise, and so the ascension is the natural ritual of being, was the gift of God bequeathed to every man, the ascension of that which had descended into form and density, that which needs to be crowned with a great glory ray of infinite life, yet manifest the decay of natural orders, the decay present in leaf and flower, cycles falling every hour into the dust, where lies no power but only the proneness of man's lack of God's cosmic magnificence. See you then that as a bird flying into the blue heavens, the soul of man seeks to rise and pass to infinite spheres. These men ought never to despise, but let them be the end to tears and fears. For God is seizing opportunity that comes with passing years and saying, now there is no flaw I cannot mend, and I, thy sole light, will defend against the tempter's flaws. And all that man has felt of mortal awe for the beat of life's magnificence as it manifests in temporal power, where there is no beauty save for a momentary hour. Now comes the shrine of life, the cosmic glen, where all of life does shine as crystal ray and pierces through the gloom of Mayic day. Our life to defend, yours and mine, the cosmic life that is the power to sight the blind and see that flees the world with passing day. All that ought never to have been, let's hold it now at bay. For God is here and will wipe away all tears. Thy life shall shine with new and renewed splendor through the years as you aspire to the heights of nobility where is no night, but only light and light and light, a splendor shining without fear. All gloom disperses. I am here. Victory! 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 This is reality. I thank you.